Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. We're back after 1 week hiatus. Schedules kind of got mixed up with the weather and everything, so we were affected a little bit too, but we're back now, ready to talk a little college wrestling this go round. One thing before we talk about wrestling, we were chatting beforehand. I am now like caught in the middle of a Curb Your Enthusiasm bin watching episode after episode. If you guys could sit down for an entire day and not have to worry about anything, what TV show from any time period would you sit down and binge watch the entire day?
Oh boy, my cousin always watched Gunsmoke.
Mm-hmm.
But me, boy, I've watched so little TV.
Sure. It's probably hard for.
It is. I mean, even now, I don't watch a whole lot of TV. I like what's the name of that? The Computer Geek.
I better watch how I answer. I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, shoot, I can't.
Not Sheldon.
Yeah, Sheldon.
Oh, with the Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that one.
We should have got it with the geek thing.
Yeah.
He's not a computer geek, but he's.
Yeah.
So I guess with me, two come to mind. I like How the West Was Won.
Okay.
I could binge watch that, because it just goes on. For entertainment, I've always liked Magnum PI.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it's kind of silly, but maybe I just want to be in Hawaii or something.
Yeah, right. Not to mention, do you ever grow a mustache?
No. Well, yeah, one time.
Really?
It was bad.
You couldn't pull it off like Haggerty?
I could not. No.
Okay.
Haggerty's got me. Yeah.
Huh?
And you?
You see this? This is as
No,
close as
I'm
it gets.
talking about your show.
Oh, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
That's probably one of them. There's another show that not too many people know that I kind of like. It's called Supernatural. It's probably been around for about 14 years now, but it's kind of different. And Dean and Sam Winchester are two of my kind of favorite. They go around hunting supernatural things. Cool. But anyway, speaking of TV, BTN has amped up their coverage a little bit. Kind of need on a Friday night to have back-to-back duels on TV.
With 4 top 10 teams, yeah.
In the Big Ten, Nebraska, Penn State, which was a humdinger. Penn State coming out with a what was it?
Heavyweight.
Yeah, 21-17. Win, I think. I think it was 18-17 going into the last one.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I watched it.
And then that rolled into the Iowa-Ohio State duel, where Iowa came away, won 7 out of 10 matches. I thought looked a lot better than they did the week before against Nebraska. At least seemed a little more offensive and aggressive, even though some other people might not think so. But
I'd agree with you because like Marinelli, you had 24 points scored with them guys. You had about 40 with DeSanto, and even Lugo, even though it was a 2-1 match or whatever it was, there was still a lot of action in that. Mm-hmm. He couldn't finish his takedowns, but to me, you're right. It was a lot more offensive.
I was writing some notes just because I wanted to. And so I got all the way through, to your point, I got all the way through to the Sasso Lugo match, and I wrote down first period 0-0, some of the best wrestling all night.
Oh,
just to your point,
Sasso.
yeah. And they didn't score a point.
Yeah.
And that's after the first period, and then the second period I wrote the same thing down. Then the third period, and a lot of people in Iowa are frustrated because one guy was offensive and one guy wasn't. But to me, that was really great wrestling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guy that was offensive didn't get rewarded and win the match, but the guy that was doing the defense, Sasso, wow, what incredible defense! And if that kid's not the Big Ten wrestler of the meet, maybe in the country, and probably number one after his win against Lugo, and then last night
against Lee.
against Lee. I mean, I don't know, man. He had a great weekend. So, and he's fun to watch. You know, tough to take down.
Yep. You know, Marinelli came out right away, 3 takedowns in the first 2 minutes.
Offensive early, yeah.
You know, kind of gave up a couple cheap ones. I think sometimes maybe a little too overly aggressive, and kind of gets caught a couple times, which it was 14-10 overall, but I didn't think the match was anywhere near that close to what.
Because he was getting close to a major, you know, and I think it was a late takedown where he was trying to get a major.
And don't you like that? Again, lots of points, lots of action. Very fun to watch.
You know, and the match has already been decided, but he's still after a major, which
like that,
which I can appreciate.
Yep.
Or a fan can appreciate, I should say.
Sure. And then Michael Kemmerer, you know, something that's kind of gone on under the radar, the stretch of matches he's had of top 8 opponents with Leidy from Purdue, Venz
Nebraska.
from Nebraska, or Labriola from Nebraska.
Yeah.
You know, and then Caleb Romero this last week, and here he's 3-0. Looked really, really strong against Leidy. Had kind of a close one with Labriola. And then here, really in control, 7-1. And now comes Mark Hall. You know, which has the makings to be a really fun, exciting match this Friday night.
1 and 2, right? 1 and 2.
Yeah, and to me, Hall is so hard to score on. So, I mean, he's going to have, of course, you know, he's going to have to work for every point anyway, but Hall is so, stays in such good position.
He's quick and he's got great, I mean, mat awareness and balance and everything. I mean, geez, so Kemmerer will have to really be sharp with his attacks and finishes.
Yeah, and he's going to have to be, if he gets in on a leg, he's going to have to finish quick, because once he hesitates a little bit, Hall will be able to counter.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Kemmerer's done a really nice job during that stretch, and I think he's somebody that into February, into March, he might be at his strongest as long as everything keeps going well. Abe Assad with another nice win, had a really nice takedown against another freshman in Rocky Jordan there in the final minute, and then had the ride out to win 3-1. You know, he's really added a boost there at 184 with a couple quality wins here out of the gate.
I think Assad and Cassiope are really they've got a head of steam right now, and man, those guys they're I can't wait to see them at the end of the season, because they're rolling right now and just getting that confidence, and so those two in particular really impressed me. I mean, everyone does on that team. But
what do you think about Cassiope lifting Gary Traub up? If you haven't had a chance to check out some of the images that Rebecca Miller shot, she's got a great photo of Cassiope hoisting Traub, and it looks like somebody carrying their little nephew around.
And my back is still sore. You know, that takes a lot of power.
I wrote that. As a matter of fact, he's really incredible with lowering his elevation without going to a knee. Getting down there, just lowering their elevation, snatching that, and then he got into him and lifted. And part of that is who's the kid he was wrestling? Traub. Traub's helping a little bit with that, but I wrote incredible strength, man. He's so strong.
Yeah, and he was in tight too. It's not like he was reaching for him.
Yeah.
And which helped be able to hoist him.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that sets Cassiope apart from a lot of other heavyweights is after he did that, he wasn't able to finish right away. He kind of got a little bit of extended, but he was able to get his kind of step up and then turn the corner and finish that takedown and show his athleticism. And he talked about how, he's always tried to wrestle like a lighter weight, and so he's got some of those skills.
So some of your best heavyweights that grew up through the lighter weights and kind of grew into that heavyweight.
Yep.
For sure.
Which is indicative to, you see that out of Gable Stevenson too, that mix of power and athleticism. Mason Paris. Also, it's going to be interesting to see how things go for Cassiope here in the stretch where you've got Penn State on Friday. Next week you'll have Michigan with Mason Paris, and then Gable Stevenson after that. So
he's got a
big stretch here.
Yeah. So now here's an interesting fact on Cassiope. I don't think he grew up little and then got big.
No.
He's always been big.
Right.
And I bet you guys didn't know this. We wrestled his school, and Dalton Keel wrestled him.
Oh, really?
At the Clash.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
Matt Orton reminded me of that because I'd forgotten it too, or didn't realize it. And it was a 4-1 match. Cassiope had been a little bit younger, and he'd beaten us, but I thought that was kind of neat. So
yeah, nice. Let you guys cross paths there, and Dalton Keel, he was
state runner-up for us.
Yep.
So
Kind of an oddity for a home duel with Iowa, starting at 165. Obviously, Tom Ryan wanted to draw.
well, I think it has to be both.
Does it have to be
I know
both?
it does. Because
Okay.
I conferred after we kind of texted each other, and I conferred with Keith Pullman and said the rule is both of them have to agree to draw.
Okay.
Or they start at 125.
Oh,
So it might have been. I mean, really, in that Iowa lineup, where are you going to start?
So maybe Tom wanted to draw Ryan. Maybe Ryan wanted to draw, and Tom Brand just said, "Okay."
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Pick your poison.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it didn't. Marinelli got things started. Spencer Lee, looked dominant. Ohio State's I think it's Heisselman didn't wrestle, so Hunter Lucas was the victim there. 18 nothing, and you can tell afterwards. I think Tom talked about like some stuff that was seen on Flow Wrestling and how they have a chart about how he hasn't scored in the second or third period and stuff, and you can tell that's been kind of in the craw of the Iowa folks a little bit, because he was like, well, let's get to the second period. Maybe we'll let it get to the second period and see how that changes. But he has just dominated so far. And it hasn't been close.
If you give that arm when he's on top, you give up that arm, it's over.
Yeah.
And he's so good at taking that forward and getting that turn, or taking it the opposite way if you're defending that way. And
if you give up the arm, period.
If you give up the arm, man, and he pretty much owned the arm.
Yeah, and Mike Finn asked him after his win over Alex Thompson in the Nebraska duel. Mike Finn, friend of ours from Wrestling Insider News Magazine, win to most people, had asked him, how, guys know that's coming, how are you still so effective with it? And he goes, I don't know, I guess I'm just strong, which, is an under, maybe a little bit of a...
And I'm sure he said that modestly.
Yeah, that's... but it's just amazing that he can still get to that, and how he turned Lucas where... he had the bar arm and then half jumped to the other side and just drove him straight over that shoulder on the edge of the mat for that first turn. Almost had a pin. So dangerous and so fluid from one thing to another. It's just it's pretty. It's
fun to watch.
Yeah, and you get used to it. That's the thing
Yeah.
too. You just kind of get 18-0 first period tack. Okay. Great. Yeah,
Next
that's Spencer. And it'll be interesting to see how that continues. Against some other guys. Like a Miller or Piccinini when Oklahoma State comes, and we'll talk about Oklahoma State here in a little bit too. The one thing too. Austin DeSanto, 27-12 points. He
had a few takedowns.
Yeah,
But that was after he gave up a takedown.
Yeah, kind of an eye-opener there right off the whistle. But that was the match that Tom pointed to and said, you want to know how to go out and dominate, that's how you dominate. That's how you go out. 27 points and just you could tell Jordan Decatur just didn't want to have anything to do with it there. He
broke early.
Yeah. Yeah.
A match like that kind of reminds me of the old Ironside, which is I don't know what you guys or what style you guys like to watch, but that's the style I like. I like that take down, wear them out.
I had a lot of fun watching Ironside.
Yeah. Yep. We've seen that. Ironside, Schwab. They did that to a few guys there on Carver's floor too. So, the one other thing really of note, the fact that Carter Happel got the nod at 141 instead of Max Murin. Jacob Warner did not wrestle at 97, and Cash Wilkie stepped in against Colin Moore. It just sounded like Max might be banged up a little bit right now. He's been wrestling with that shoulder brace all season. Kind of wonder if that's having some effect at this point. Warner, Tom was a little bit more, just said it's kind of what's best for him right now. Didn't really kind of get into, injury, illness, whatever. But is that something that you think needs to be a concern right now? Is it something that, hey, they might have felt pretty confident of the matchups that they had here, rest them up for a week before Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's a luxury. They're deep, and they've got an incredibly solid team, and they feel comfortable and confident enough to put Wilkie out there. And
he wrestled well.
Yeah, he did well. He kept, so that's to me that's a strategy. Maybe there's an injury or something that we're not aware of, but if it's not, if it's just let's just meet him at conference, then
see what happens.
Yeah. To think that you're just plugging in a guy that's a 3-time national qualifier.
Yeah.
Exactly. And don't forget Carter Happel's beaten ranked wrestlers before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you think of his wins. What was it, Thorne? He beat Thorne, and then there's the Maryland kid that I remember him beating at Maryland a couple of years ago too. So pretty good depth. Penn State comes to town on Friday. Duel starting at 8 o'clock at Carver Hawkeye Arena. This has to be kind of the defining moment of the regular season, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. This is a conference championship, dual championship, and sets it up for the national tournament.
And it's already a sellout.
Then it's been a sellout for a long time.
Yeah, a long time. Too, yeah.
What do you think? Is this does Iowa continue its dominance? I think they're like 44-6 in 5 Big Ten duels, as far as individual matches this season. So they've won out of their 50 matches in Big Ten duels. They've won 44 of them so far.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what lineup each team puts out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Iowa's at full strength, then that's something else. But they weren't. They had 2 out we spoke of, and then it's the same with Penn State. They've had a lot of injuries this year too, so I'm not sure who's going to be in and out there. So I kind of have to wait personally to see the lineups. But I mean, Iowa's should, without even looking, be the favorite team.
Right, and of course they got some solid kids, but and it's all about matchups. But the way Iowa beat Nebraska and the way Penn State beat Nebraska, You look at score for score, and it looks like you should really dominate. But I'll tell you, you get a Hall or Valencia out there, and it's
Hall had a big pin in the Nebraska duel that allowed them to come away with a win. Still.
Right.
There are so many swing matches. I mean, from an outsider, I'm sure I'll get criticized by Iowa folks. We don't think they're swing matches. And that's fine.
On paper, you have to say that.
Yeah. Just from an outside looking in, you got 133 where DeSanto would be a favorite, but that's a tough matchup with Bravo Young.
He's a great wrestler.
165, you've got Marinelli and Joseph. Then at 74, you've got Kemmerer and Hall. Even 84, even though Assad's wrestled really, really well, you've got Brooks, who's a freshman, and highly touted, as well there. That could,
We could see that one for a while.
Yeah, heavyweight, you'd think Cassioppi's a heavy favorite there, but Neville's,
He's an
very
athlete.
he's very capable. And how's Lugo going to bounce back from that tough loss to Sasso? Because if we're clearing, that's one you think Lugo should win, and probably will. But if he's, not mentally there, or ready to go, that's one for clear, and he's a tough kid.
Which makes it exciting and fun, huh?
Yep.
Oh, could you imagine the noise in that place?
It's gonna be rocking.
It will.
Yeah, like you said, a sellout. They've see if there's gonna be a Tony Ramos type moment where, he had a big pin, against Penn State one year, and that place just erupted. So we'll see. Kind of like how Assad's first victory. That place was pretty loud. So, that fan base is going to be electric on Friday night. So check that. And I'm gonna sound pissy here. Something that just kind of got brought to my attention during our staff meeting today. So the Big Ten and all their great knowledge in everything with the schedules, they're going to send Iowa to East Lansing on Sunday, 2 days after wrestling Penn State. And then less than a week later, they're going to ship them off to wrestle at Michigan.
Oh.
So how in the hell, excuse my language, sorry, does that make sense to do instead of just about every other swing that most people take? You're hitting Indiana with Purdue and Indiana the same weekend. You see UNI go out west, and they're hitting Northern Colorado and Air Force at the same time. It makes sense, especially with travel budgets and everything else. And with scheduling, you're going to go Penn State at Michigan State, and then less than a week later, I think it's actually Saturday instead of Friday, you're going to send them at Michigan. Iowa's a team, it's not going to matter.
Yep.
But that just seems,
For the travel costs alone.
it seems dopey to make any program take that's 8-10 hour drives by bus. Maybe they'll take a charter or something to Michigan. I would doubt it, but you're asking.
I mean,
them
to your
do
point,
that.
Oklahoma State this weekend.
Yeah,
UNI, Iowa State.
And they did it on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon.
yeah, less than 12 hours, or
Right.
a little more than 12 hours apart, 18 hours apart or so.
And then not only that, because through talking to individuals, they were still in Cedar Falls at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
And they didn't, and with 1 o'clock weigh-ins.
Why was that? That's where their room was. Yeah.
Well, apparently I think they had a 5:30 workout on Sunday morning.
Oh.
Well, and we'll explain why that might be. The Oklahoma State schedule just seemed really goofy as well. But even taking that out of consideration, knew it was going to be a tough swing.
They've done that many
them.
times, though, through their out there.
Really?
Yeah, but we used to wrestle them when I was there.
You mean
And then
Oklahoma State?
Yeah, and then they come over and wrestle.
Oh.
Or we'd wrestle, schools that would wrestle us, and then us being UNI when I was there, and then Iowa State.
Sure.
Or maybe Iowa, but usually it's Iowa State.
I guess I would always think it would be a Friday, Sunday,
And
rather than a Saturday, Sunday.
And it might be another Big Ten school that was coming over, or
Yeah.
Big 12.
Sure.
Or, not necessarily Big 12, but
Sure. But they wrestled UNI at the
Big Eight
McLeod
back then.
Center
Yeah.
on Saturday night, and that was, that was a little bit of a different atmosphere being in McLeod compared to West Gym, but I think they drew 4,000
People,
fans,
Yep.
and UNI able to come away with a 19-15 victory. Read Jim Nelson's account of the duel, and he made mention of Carter Isley giving a little bit of a props to the New York Yankees with Mariano Rivera as being a better
Yankees or Red Sox?
Yankees.
Oh, that was.
He's a Yankee. That's why it makes it even better that he told Doug Schwab that a better closer might be Mariano Rivera, because Doug Schwab came back, duel came down to heavyweight, said nobody closes better, and he said, well, maybe Mariano Rivera, which is a nice little jab at Schwab. But he was able to come through with a victory and a nice win for the Panthers, 19-15 over the Cowboys.
With 2 takedowns in the third period to win 5-2, right?
Really?
So,
Yeah,
I believe that's it. Yeah, so he had to basically come from behind or at least get the win in the
Pull it
third
out,
period.
yeah.
So that had to have been so exciting for the fans and the teams, but and they got some. That's our first win since 1991.
Yeah.
Don Briggs, I remember he was the
Hawkeyes
coach.
State,
Yeah,
yep.
and over a very tough team back then, 3rd ranked or whatever I think. And anyway, so that's a nice win. But they got some wins at maybe weights that on paper they weren't supposed to get, and that's what you want as a coach. You love to see that, in particular 157, and I'm thinking 133 was
133.
maybe at least a toss-up, if not favored towards Oklahoma State. I don't know, they wrestle real well, but so that was a nice win at those 2 weights, to really give you and I an opportunity to win it.
Yeah.
But I also thought Steyert's
He's
major
looking so good right now, isn't he? He's
over,
on fire.
over
yeah.
Joseph Smith.
Yeah, that
Was
huge.
impressive.
Yeah, and Steyert's been just kind of he's been very tough all season. Not that he hasn't
Consistent.
been before, but yeah.
Very consistent.
Yep.
And it's
I forgot Blockus too, also at 41.
Right.
It was a nice one. I don't know that he was
40
not favored.
4-3.
Yeah.
There, Skudlarczyk at 133 with a 10-5 victory over Whitcraft, and then as you mentioned, Keaton Gertz beat Wyatt Sheets. Is that the son of Mike Sheets?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
that's
it
what-
is.
It
That's
is.
what I
It
was
is
wondering.
because in the Iowa State duel, Sheets wrestled Carr.
Oh, yeah.
Them 2 dads wrestled each other as well.
Sure. Yeah, kind of interesting with Mondays and
Right.
Sheets and Cars as a second generation.
Right.
People are seeing
Right.
now.
I guess we can't forget Lujan.
Right.
Solid as ever, and it was not a big win though. I don't think, maybe 4-0 or something.
4-0, but he's been very stingy as far as giving up points. We know how he can really put points on the board, but he's also been very, very stingy in matches about giving up points. That's a few shutouts that he's had.
Well, and he's tougher than nails on top.
That's just what I was going to
Jeez,
say. He'll
jeez.
get the takedown and ride the crap out of you.
Yeah, usually turn you over.
Yeah.
Yep. So, you just kind of look at what you and I is kind of doing right now.
Right, since their disappointment from South
South
Dakota
Dakota
State.
State.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've won 4 straight duels, and that includes wins over Okie State and Missouri, and then the
UNC.
West Coast.
Northern Colorado and Air Force.
Yep.
Yep.
So definitely 2, and it's actually 5 out of the last 6 because before that they had a win over Utah Valley that you'd expect them to probably get. But yeah, all of a sudden, you've seen Holschlag come back. I think he wrestled against Air Force or UNC, one of the two.
Yeah, I think Air Force. I think it was.
Okay. I knew one of those duels at out west. But we've seen that.
So we get him back. Obviously there's
That'll
something still
help.
going on there if he's not in the lineup. So
And just want to bring him in. You don't want to rush it.
well, you want him in March
And stuff. Exactly. So,
for sure.
and
And this is the last shot. There's no more. I don't think anymore.
right.
Extra years.
Yeah.
And Carter Isley has wrestled very well. You get some of those guys, kind of stepping up, like Skudlarczyk
Skudlarczyk,
at 33.
Blockus.
Blockus continuing to grow at 41.
And Gertz at 57. yeah.
If he can keep developing, that's really going to kind of accelerate things. They head to Oklahoma this next weekend, another duel that they certainly could come away with. Blockus will have a nice test with Demas.
Oh man, I like
down
that
there.
Demas guy. And I like Blockus. That's gonna, man.
It's
That's
going
gonna
to
be a fun match.
And then, the next day, Oklahoma State rebounds, heads to Ames, comes away with a 23-9 victory over the Cyclones. Coach Dresser not real
Not
real
happy at all.
pleased. I think.
Well, and he was pretty public about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe it stung a little more because of what happened the night before.
Sure.
If you see UNI beat Oklahoma State and now you don't wrestle well, I mean, they didn't not beat them. They also only won 3 matches.
Right.
And so there's some sting there. And so he was kind of public about some of their. It sounds like their weight cutting habits. So he's going to a hands-on.
Yeah. I think his words were, people want to do it their way, and their way's not getting it done.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to revisit that.
Right.
It's got to be a delicate balance to kind of give them ownership and allow them to be independent. But you know what? You've got to take control if they're not able
Be
to
accountable.
do it. And if
Part of it, I can't help but think, but part of it is they had a very aggressive January schedule. They had 8 duels, which is 5 or 6 weigh-ins or whatever, and with travel, clear out to the West Coast. And if you add in the Southern Scuffle for a couple of the guys, now it's 9. I wasn't counting the scuffle in that 8. And so, I can't help but think they're maybe a little tired, or if you're making weight that many times, it gets me a little rugged. So
and kind of the goofy situation the week before with the weather and being kind of stuck up in Dakotas, not wrestling North Dakota State back home as well. So kind of an odd
I forgot that
odd
one was
situation.
postponed.
Yeah.
But they were still up there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
stuck.
matter. That's that's even sometimes worse because you're up there, you're down to weight or you're near weight, depending on when it was postponed, and
And
then
not weigh in.
now you're stuck there. There's travel. You're away from classes. You're not in your own, bed, and it's just that can be worse sometimes. You don't get the joy of wrestling.
Yeah.
So.
And you look at some of the matches. 133, Todd Small had been wrestling really, really well. And then for him to drop a 1-point decision, you look at that being something that could get turned around. Even 165 with Straw and Whitlake, that's a decision that you think could go your way. And then Colbray, for Steyer to beat Smith the night before, and then Colbray, who has the ability to do something similar, drops a 5-2 decision. Kind of a tough one there. Those matches you would like to have again to maybe try to turn around.
Right.
Yeah, I think that 74 and 84 were the ones that kind of Dresser was referring to in his press conference.
Yeah, that was another one with Marcus Coleman.
Right.
And Montalvo.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there, but I'm not going to speculate either.
Yeah.
But I think and you kind of hinted towards this, but Oklahoma State losing to UNI the day before, getting up at 5:30 for a practice, and so maybe that was a factor. We're going to get this done today. So I'm sure Coach Smith wasn't too happy to let his team know. So
yeah, and
that's motivation to be
maybe a little bit of a wake up call.
Yeah.
As well. And
So at least it made the bus trip back to
little
Oklahoma
better.
City a little.
Right.
maybe.
Stillwater. Yeah.
Stillwater, yeah.
Yeah, but when you've got that motivation, now that you're at Oklahoma State, Iowa State has to endure that now. Kind of power through that, which they didn't.
Yep.
So.
And then you spoke of the January schedule that's been so busy for Iowa State. They hit the road again this week for a duel Friday.
Yeah.
Against Fresno State. So another little road trip. Actually, they go to Oklahoma after that too on the 9th. So
the January they were out to Arizona, and then where were they before? Utah? Was it Utah, Arizona?
Utah or Colorado?
yeah,
Or,
it was they're at Utah for
Utah
the Utah Valley.
yeah.
And then down to Arizona, then back tough schedule there, and now back out to California. Yeah, geez,
Yep.
that's
And Oklahoma, a trip to Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
After that too, so kind of tough. A little bit closer to home, the American Rivers Conference duels were this weekend as well. A couple different sites at Central and
Lincoln, Nebraska.
at Lincoln, Nebraska for Nebraska West.
So here's how they do it. They split the conference in half, and there's 9 teams. So you've got 5 teams in one site and 4 teams in the other, and that doesn't change very often, I don't think, because if you do, now you have to bring in teams that you have like rivalries with, like you might have now. If you change it up, now you're gonna have like Co and Loris wrestling. Let's say Wartburg and Loris and Wartburg and Co, which are big meets, and they're going to be big meets this year. Still looking forward to those, and if you do those on a Saturday in the same gym, it's going to take away the luster of what's going to happen. I think Thursday at Co with Wartburg there, and then that Wartburg Loris meet as well. So I don't think those are going to change. So in Nebraska, you had Loris, Co, Luther, Nebraska Wesleyan, and Simpson, and Loris walked away 4-0, and they're number 3 in the nation, and then they beat Co 29-9. So that's a fairly significant victory, I think. Some of the matches were close, but the score doesn't. 29-9 is still pretty convincing. And I'll speak to the 97 here in a minute, but so Co went 3-1. I thought heavyweight Caleb Reeves had a 16-2 major over the Luther champ Keenan Feldpauch.
Really?
That was a solid win, I think. That Feldpauch is not. He's a tough wrestler. He's a good wrestler. So that's to win by 14. Is that 16-2?
Yep.
So anyway, that's a nice win. Luther, who's ranked 17th, so you got 3, 5, and 17 in those duels right there. Not bad, right? Went 2-2. In the duels in Pella at Central College, you had Wartburg, Dubuque, Central, and BV, and Wartburg went 3-0 and was pretty much uncontested in those meets, but had some individuals some individual matchups that were pretty good. Yeah, 3 wrestlers went 3-0: Paul Kalo, Max Forsyth, and Kyle. But Dubuque went down to the heavyweight match against Central, University of Dubuque and Central's ranked 20th. University of Dubuque's unranked, and they were down 20-15, and the Dubuque heavyweight, and they're both really quality heavyweights. They're both contenders on D3.com, so they're right there, just out of the rankings, top 10. And he hit a headlock and pinned him in 29 seconds for the 21-20 victory for Dubuque. So that was pretty exciting, actually. Fun duel to watch. But not surprisingly, this is a very tough conference. I mean, that's no surprise, right? But maybe even more so this year. I mean, you had the number 20 team lost to an unranked team. You had 2 number 1 wrestlers in the conference, in the nation, that lost Saturday. That being Brady Fritz at Wartburg got beat, and it was kind of a interesting. Lots of things going on there.
Was it against Daniel Ratcliffe?
Yes, tough wrestler. But there's a couple of near falls that I might have thought were 2s instead of 4s or something like. You know how that goes in college, right? And then Taylor Maiman from Co was pinned by Luther. I mean Loris.
Patron?
Guy Patron, yeah, thank you. Sorry. And so 2 number 1s. Last week we had 8 that were reshuffled in the nation. Add 2 more to it this week, right?
Right.
That I'm aware of, anyway.
So that's that could be a fun. Should be fun to see how things shake out
at the regional.
At the regionals,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then even the nationals, with the way that is
Right.
gone, as well. So.
And Maiman had beaten Patron last year at the national tournament. Patron, I think, had beaten Maiman most of the year. Maiman pinned Patron, I think, at the nationals, and so it's that one's been going back and forth. So
I was surprised about Daniel Radcliffe's victory.
Yeah, there was some
pretty magical result.
Yeah, he did a good job. He's good. I remember on this show mentioning him last year when he was wrestling in a duel versus Henderson at Co. That they were scrapping. Man, that was such a good match. So he's a good wrestler for sure.
I mean, did you catch my pun?
I didn't. It must have been right.
Daniel Radcliffe is the actor that plays Harry Potter in the movies, the little wizard
Yes.
guy. So Daniel Radcliffe, magical season
Gotcha.
or magical result.
I'm gonna
All
have to
right,
watch
sorry.
that.
I'll-
Read that book. Those
I'll-
books.
That's my last attempt at humor. My fault.
And then D2.
Yeah.
Upper Iowa did have a
with
nice
win
win.
Sunday.
Yeah. Over Moorhead. University of Moorhead. You know where Moorhead is?
Minnesota.
Yeah, it's in Minnesota.
More
Just across the river from Fargo.
That's right. It's way up in the
Yeah.
west corner of Minnesota. Across the
Been there, done that.
border. Yep.
Yep, they came away with 9 out of 10 victories
Yeah.
against Moorhead, including Hensley, Donnie Schmidt, both Baumlers, Dalton Hahn, Brock Bennett's at 165, Max Spots at 57 as well. So-
Easton City grad, I think.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and then the Baumlers, right there, that
The
that's
West
still,
Union, or
yeah.
is that right?
Yep,
West
North
Union?
Fayette Valley.
Right.
That
SBSU, should I?
that's the one thing about Upper Iowa that I think is pretty interesting because they're right in their backyard and contributing, and then Donnie Schmidt's a Wapsie Valley guy
yeah,
right.
too, so that's not that's right in the area. So Heath Grimm has done a nice job of kind of keeping some of that local talent there and getting good results out of.
Certainly on
Yeah.
this team, because it always has been that way. It's been a lot of out of state. So he's got it to the point where he's
A lot of Northeast Iowa.
Yeah.
He really keeps
Yeah.
it around that
going-
Northeast
yep.
Iowa.
Yep.
And,
So
and
he's got a
also,
mix.
yeah,
He's got a
that
good
also
mix.
helps his attendance. They draw well up
Do they?
there. Yeah.
Cool. And kind of a big weekend. We'll touch on it in the prep edition here shortly, but I believe his daughter's his
sure.
daughter competed this weekend as well. So I know his daughters are pretty good athletes.
Yeah, I was
all
going to
around,
say
too.
she's athletic.
So I'm sure he was involved in that
Yeah.
aspect as well too. So, any other comments from the college scene this last?
other than upcoming. You touched on kind of the D1, Iowa with Penn State, UNI at Oklahoma, and Iowa State's off. They're at Fresno. They're going to Fresno, right? Yeah, and Fresno, and then D3 that we mentioned,
Big
Wartburg
one.
and Co. Thursday, 7:00. Be there.
And note that that's a change because originally
Right.
it was meant for Friday. They moved it to Thursday to kind of keep from probably conflicting with the Iowa Penn State duel as well. So just remember
And then you got Luther.
that change.
And then let's see, University of Dubuque's at Simpson, Cornell's at the Wheaton Invitational, or it's an Invitational in Wheaton, Illinois. That's a 2-day tournament, I think.
Okay.
And then Loras is at Central on Saturday. So
So that's kind of you look at Loris and Co and Wartburg as far as kind of marquee duels, but that Loris Central could have could be a fun one.
Yep. And then Luther's at Wisconsin Lacrosse.
Okay.
So and then Upper Iowa hosts Augustana.
Okay. All right. Not to mention a little shout out. I think one of Dave Malinchak's daughters, Dave Malinchak, now the coach at Wisconsin Lacrosse, was named like the Gatorade Player of the Year or something like that.
Cross country
yeah.
Cora.
Yep.
Yep.
So very
He's got
talented
triplets, and they're all fabulous runners. So
Yep. So,
Yep.
so congratulations
proud
there
dad
as well.
there, yeah.
Yep. So, all right. Well, make sure you get out and check out some of those duels this coming week. A lot going on the college scene. So check those out. We'll be back next week to discuss what goes down.
one other thing, I don't know if you noticed when you came in, huh?
I
We filled
did
the
not.
space. We filled
I
the
did not.
space.
We are pennant worthy.
Yes, we are someone.
We have our pennant. So, and that's thanks to you guys for watching and everything. So you've allowed us to put our pennant on the wall. So thank you for that, and hopefully you'll keep watching along because we really enjoy bringing this to you every week. So
It's a blast.
With that, I'll let you close us out, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
And let's keep wrestling on the move.